And if we allow ourselves to be who we are, and we're all showing up at our best, then when people are exploring cultures they might want to work for, they're gonna feel it in us. I mean, our vibe shows up, and especially if we're allowing ourselves to be true and aligned, and you don't feel weird. I mean, they can tell when they're interviewing when things are just off, and you're trying to pretend that you lead through certain values or pretend like you're a certain culture.
So, Work Positive Nation, what are the strengths of your teams? And do they know their strengths? How are they playing to those strengths? Welcome back to the Work Positive Podcast. I'm Dr. Joey Fawcett, your host, helping you grow people and profits through a positive work culture. Okay, my guest on this episode is a fellow developer of people. She's the founder and CEO of Lead Through Strengths. She hosts a podcast also called Lead Through Strengths. And she's here today to help us leverage what's already positive in our work life, our strengths. Harvard Business Publishing, Training Magazine, and Forbes all feature her work. So I invited her to put down her drumsticks, to come in from the hiking trail, and to let her dog Lucy win the tug of war game so that she can talk with us today. So what do you say we grow people and profits with strengths on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast? Work Positive Nation, you are in for yet another treat, but this will be a super treat because we're going to talk about superpowers and strengths today with the Lisa Cummings. Lisa, welcome to the Work Positive Podcast. I am so excited.
Super to be here.
Yeah, grateful. Very, 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 very grateful. So, leadthroughstrengths.com is the website. What's your origin story? Because every time I say superpowers, I think about Marvel Comics, and they always have origin stories for their heroes. So my hero today is Lisa Cummings. What's your origin story? How did you come on to the importance of strengths?
Well, in 1999, I was a first-time manager. I read this book, First Break All the Rules. It came out just in time for me.
Gave you permission to do what you were going to do anyway?
Right. The title did sound fun, but actually I got onto this whole thing about StrengthsFinder and taking on this new team. As you do, you inherit a team of people and you think, oh gosh, this isn't necessarily the team I would have hired if I had selected each person. One of the first lessons in leadership everyone has.
Yeah, really.
And I decided I was in an HR kind of team. It was an HR consulting team that I led. And so it was natural for me, learning and development background, to read a book and just run a workshop. So I brought my team in, got them around the table. We spent a half a day talking about our strengths, and my mind exploded with the people that I wasn't sure would make it, the people that I wasn't convinced about the contributions they might be able to make on the team. I spotted all of these things. Well, the assessment spotted. I can't take any credit. The assessment spotted all of these things that I overlooked because I suppose, looking back, I was just hoping they would be like me.
Oh, don't we all? I don't know whether we intend to be narcissistic or we just are. Either way, the outcome's the same. If you did it my way, it'd be perfect.
Right.
Oh.
And then the tool, StrengthsFinder, now known as Clifton Strengths, let me see, I might wish that, but actually it's better if they would complete me. What if there's all of this headspace I don't want to live in that they actually love? So that moment, that day, turned everything around with that team. I used it with every team I led afterwards. And then about 11 years ago, fast forward today, many years, a couple decades later, I have spent the last 11 years exclusively doing Clifton Strengths with teams. And that is the origin story for getting my mind oriented around what already works in people and finding these differences that are actually their differentiators and bringing that to light so that we can leverage what puts people at their best.
So was it just a serendipity that you ran into that book, or was there some pain or discomfort? You know, like Spider-Man got bit by a spider. So, I mean, what bit you to cause the pain that pushed you into that book?
I have always been a a business book reader and I love to learn. So I was the person consuming every business book of the day. And prior to having that, I was in sales before some of these roles. And I was the one driving around field sales in my car, listening to Jim Rohn and Zig Ziglar and getting the motivation and the education. And that just transferred into physical book reading. And it was really just one of the books of the day. And because I was a new manager, it felt like, hey, this was written for leaders. I better figure out what I'm supposed to do here so that I'm a competent person in the job.
Right. Well, then there's your friction point. You're a brand new manager. Kudos to you, Lisa Cummings, for knowing that you needed some help, that you didn't know it all. Scott Greenberg is a franchise expert, and he was on our program, and he said, and I fact checked him, so it was true. The average manager goes 10 years of leading before she or he gets any training whatsoever.
Wow.
10 years. Now just think of how many people run through the back door because these managers are doing what? Thinking that everything should be the way that they do it. Inherited patterns of behavior that they're just passing on. So dive into, and many of us are familiar, but there may be a few who aren't, dive into what we learn about ourselves from Clifton Strengths.
Oh, well, the instrument is now 200 questions. It throws in front of you a bunch of preferences. This or this, this or this, this or this. And it asks some of the same questions, but against a different one. And over the course of answering those questions, it provides a stack rank of 34 potential talents. And these talents are different from a personality assessment in that these were performance factors. When Gallup started studying this 40 years before bringing it to market, by the way, they were studying this for eons before these instruments were popularized. I think that's so cool. So then they placed those 34 performance factors and what made people great into these 34 themes. So now you get a list either of your top 5, or if you buy the premium version of the report, you get your stack rank 1 through 34. And it's kind of like, the easiest way to describe it is all of your easy buttons. It doesn't tell you what you should go do at work. It tells you how you could approach any role, any responsibility, anything in front of you in a way that feels natural and easy to you, because it reflects how you think and feel and act when you're at your natural best. So I get to go around and help people find their easy buttons so that they're not forcing it anymore. They stop trying to be like the other person. And I was totally guilty of this. I have this boss named Larry when I was in my first director role. It's a little different role, but he was kind of my image. You know, you have that person you aspire to be like because he was so outstanding. And I would think, well, this is kind of my compass. I should try to be like Larry.
So you're channeling your inner Larry.
Right? I was. Can you see where this might go wrong?
Yeah. How'd that work out for you there, Lisa, not Larry?
I mean, just like that surface level comparison, it didn't work well. It didn't feel natural to me. It didn't feel like I was showing up at my best, despite me trying to act like him. And it was the unleashing by saying, oh, these other things that make me unique and strong will help me become a natural good leader. And then likewise, if I can find the same thing in each team member, it would do the same for them. And then of course, because it's aligned with who you are as a human, it actually feels easy to show up and be excellent.
Aren't we all looking for that easy button you're talking about there? Well, you remind me of what Josh Friedman, the emotional intelligence expert, came on the Work Positive podcast and was talking about. The last time he was on, he talked about we're really looking for joy at work. So when we find our strengths, aren't we like catapulting ourselves into the joy factor?
Oh, it really is incredible. Sometimes I'll be in workshops with teams and they'll say, I agree that these sound like fun ways to be. I agree that this sounds nice and easy, but is this really a contribution? Like, is this actually something of value to other people at work? This is just easy to be like. They just look at it and think this can't be true.
Because it comes from a place where work's supposed to make you miserable, right?
Right.
I owe, so off to work I go, right? You're really casting shackles off people and just really liberating them to
Yes.
go be the best version of themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And when somebody finds something like, oh, I lead through a bunch of relationship talents that allowed me to build rapport quickly, then being personable and easy to relate to and easy to pick up on other people's responsiveness to their thing and individualizing their pitches to others when they're trying to make a business case. If that all just seemed so natural, they're like, well, just because I like people, that doesn't mean that would make me excellent. But then they realize, oh, I could go ask my manager, hey, if you have a project that requires all kinds of complex rapport building across silos, across business units, across countries, and I could naturally do that, I could really bring a big contribution to this project. Maybe I should ask for those kinds of projects so that instead of them looking at the experiences and skills only, now they have this other way of looking at how to assign work, and they could give me work that would bring me joy.
So you mean I can get paid and paid well just for being myself, Lisa? There's a novel idea.
Yeah.
So I mean, to us it makes sense because that's the place we come from, a very human-centric kind of world, right? But for so many people, particularly managers who are doing hiring, how do we even begin this conversation in attracting top talent, right? And having that, oh, by the way, you get to be yourself here. How do we have that conversation?
It is interesting, even if I take this assessment, it was decidedly not built to be a hiring tool. So when people get absolutely enamored with Clifton Strengths, then instantly they're like, we want to build out the data. We want to look at this team grid and see all of the ones we don't have. We want to fill in the holes so that we have all the strengths represented across our team of 100.
All 34 of them.
Yes, evenly spread, perfectly spread.
Now,
And
those are the techno geek nerds, right? Who want to put
yeah,
everything in a spreadsheet. Okay.
yeah.
I'm feeling you.
Or even those who are like, okay, I'm all relationship, but I need somebody who's all about the data and I need that you complete me kind of version.
Right.
Really just taking that look and saying, okay, as a culture, who are we? And if we allow ourselves to be who we are, and we're all showing up at our best, then when people are exploring cultures they might want to work for, they're gonna feel it in us. I mean, our vibe shows up. And especially if we're allowing ourselves to be true and aligned and you don't feel weird. I mean, they can tell when they're interviewing when things are just off and you're trying to pretend that you lead through certain values or pretend like you're a certain culture.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that is just the leading with truth about who you are and what you bring and what the team needs, and then trying to uncover. It's like the basic strength spotting. What will this person bring that we don't have? What will this person bring that that we need, and where can we work great together? And that person doesn't have to be like everyone else on the team. They have to be bringing a contribution and a light that matches up.
Yeah. So do we use Clifton Strengths as a pre-employment source of information about a top talent candidate?
We actually recommend it as a day one kind of thing.
Ah.
And the main reason, I'll tell you the most compelling reason, because I spent years thinking this should totally be pre-employment.
Yeah,
It's so great. Right. It should be used for everything.
Yeah, that's right.
However, downside, yes, there's a however. It does not tell you individual intensity. It tells you a stack rank. So if I have a number 1 communication and you have a number 11 communication, it didn't even show up in your top 10. It's possible that your communication is better than my communication because maybe all of them are better than mine. Since it doesn't have individual intensity, it's not going to be accurate like that for a hiring tool. But with that said, if somebody is a Clifton Strengths kind of organization and they have a strengths focus, there are definitely questions. I just get people to, what are the outcomes of the role? What are these characteristics, values, et cetera, that you're trying to bring into the culture, into the team? And then you can ask them questions that uncover the same kinds of things that the assessment would be uncovering. And then day one, you really get into the mapping of the specific work and projects and how you can align those and unleash whatever approach they have. Because your talents are an approach you would take to the job. They're not the job.
The job itself, right? So then it becomes a retention tool if you're doing it on day one and then unpacking it. So in the attraction factor conversations before the top talent joins the team, you can say, hey, know that on day one, we're going to do the Strengths Finder with you, and here's what's going to happen from there. So how do we take the Clifton Strengths? I apologize for calling it Strengths Finder. I just been around it for a while.
Plenty of people still call it that. I just use them synonymously. And also the book is still called Strengths Finder 2.0, and it has the same assessment inside. So either one, it's all good. They were just trying to honor Donald Clifton, the psychologist who invented it. So there was a branding change, but really Strengths Finder, it stuck.
I know. Well, kudos to him. And if I were Clifton, I would want me to say Clifton Strengths. so we get into the talent retention piece then, because I want my back door to be smaller than my front door, right?
Yes.
What are some strategies and tactics we can use based on Clifton's strengths to help build that team out and to help them discover that joy through their work?
I think let me ask you a question. I'm backing it up just a little bit, but you've mentioned attraction, you've mentioned retention. When I think of talent development, I have my own little model that is retention, acquisition, development. I think of those three. What's your kind of high level that you think of?
Right. Well, attraction we use in Work Positive Nation instead of recruitment, right? Because recruitment oftentimes means I'm getting sold on a position and you're trying to get me in here. Attraction is that Venn diagram of where culture meets new hires. And so how do we magnetize our culture in such a way that top talent's drawn to us? And then the retention is when that back door gets smaller, right?
Yes.
And the team is discovering the joy that we're talking about here. So how do I take Clifton's strengths then and use it as an ongoing development process within our teams?
Yeah. Well, of course, there's kind of the kickoff where they first do it. There's the self part, people discovering these new elements, and that's larger than most people expect. I think it's because candidates and employees, anytime we talk about ourselves and our capabilities at work, we're so conditioned to think about LinkedIn, resumes, CVs, and it becomes so much about skills and experiences that this other part is forgotten, like how we approach work and what motivators really create that drive in us. So when they're first getting the assessment out, there's a combination of the self-assessment where literally people read the report and say, Lisa, these are the nicest things anyone has ever said about me.
I like myself now.
Wow. Oh, that's this thing that I've may have even gotten feedback all over the years that is negative. It's framed as a positive here. I see how I could use this for good. So there's that whole part, like how you see you, how others see you, how you can frame some of these in a positive light if they've been overused or misapplied or underappreciated or put into roles and scenarios where they didn't shine. So though that exploration is the early on, it's a lot of self. And then as far as my workshops, the way I'll structure it, I have physical materials that give people highlights through for each of these strengths, what yucks and yays, kind of the likes and dislikes, the starved and the fed. So what if you've been squashing it down and starving it out because you don't think it would be appreciated in your workplace, what it can look like and be perceived as, or where some of the blind spots can come out if you've been squashing it down versus what it looks like when it's fed and nurtured and looks amazing. And then we have this honored and insulted category that we take people through where they're looking at situations that might honor their values and make them feel alive and amazing versus situations that insult their values and get really annoying. And they're down in this development and in this team interaction. What I usually tell them, it's kind of like the opportunity to begin the conversation about the secret rule book we all have about how others should be treating us and how interaction should go, but we have these expectations that are never spoken or agreed upon, so we just get annoyed with each other about little things.
Yeah, we just assume everyone should know.
Yeah. And they tend to be such basic human things. Like, for example, there's one of the strengths is called responsibility. And if someone leads through responsibility, they tend to be on time. Their word is their honor. If you set a deadline, they meet it. They're the person who will stay up until 3 a.m. They'll catch the balls that other people have dropped. They do all the things. So they have that expectation of others as well. And when I do these workshops and people are exploring and they're like, if you're about to miss the deadline that you owe me and you don't give me a heads up a few days in advance, I can't even understand how you would do that to a person. So they get to express that. They're it's such a hot button issue. Yeah. Meanwhile, the other person who leads through a ranger and activator who don't mind change, they're super flexible. They run with it. They're like, oh, a deadline passed. No big deal. We'll reshuffle the deck. We'll get things moving. We'll go. They don't love it that someone missed a deadline, but they just move on and don't think that much of it. And they get the chance in the room to share these things, these seemingly small things that can totally wreck the dynamics on a team if they don't have that understanding of each other. So that's that retention part where I know it's a little bit probably cliched at this point, but that's, I feel seen and heard and appreciated. And those expectations come out to live out of the darkness so that people can understand each other.
I know. And you now understand why your manager didn't speak to you for 2 weeks, because you missed the deadline, right?
Right.
She is super responsible. Lisa Cummings is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. The website, which is down in the show notes, by the way, is leadthroughstrengths.com. And also, she mentioned LinkedIn. Her profile URL is there. She'd love to connect with you and talk more about this after the podcast, of course. So what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing today, particularly among HR leaders and culture architects, in adopting what sounds like, at least to me and to so many of us, as a superb way of energizing teams and reaching peak performance?
Well, specifically when it comes to rolling out things like a Clifton Strengths initiative and approach, a strengths-focused workplace, time really gets in there, because people will say, I know we should do an in-person workshop together. We should kick off at a team summit. Can we give a whole day away from work? What if we have team members in 84 countries? Can we? And it's very expensive to fly people in. So then what can we do instead in a virtual environment? And how can we operate there? Which, of course, we have that nailed. That's totally possible. But just the time away from work to dedicate to really being present with each other. So they're competing on the time factor. They're competing on presence, because let's say you do move to a virtual environment. Can they really shut off Microsoft Teams and not be getting pings the whole time and really be doing that full thing with each other?
You want a distraction-free environment? How do you do
that? Right. Can we really give that time to each other? And I would say even the assessment itself, if it's a small business, then the assessment itself can really, just the cost of an assessment multiplied by 1,000 people or 100 people, they can feel a crunch there. That depends on the team. You know, we also deal with a lot of Fortune 500 where it's no big deal at all. They do assessments all day long, and they've done Myers-Briggs and DISC and Hogan and Clifton Strengths, and they just buy them all. So this all depends. But I'd say time, presence, sometimes budget. Yeah. Which one did you like?
That's right. I want them all. So really the question is, regardless of the metric, it's ROI. What's the return on my time? What's the return on my money? So how do you address that challenge?
Well, one thing that's really cool in being a practitioner of an instrument for Gallup, who is just all about the data, I can be all about the clients. I can be all about what it's like when you're rolling these out, but they have collected so many case studies and
Oh,
real numbers. So it does make it easy to be able to show up and say, hey, we have numbers that show 21% increase in productivity, 14%
hmm.
reduction in turnover, like real things that can, at least from an executive perspective, show this matters. I have a page on leadthroughstrengths.com. It's I think it's called, my title for the page is Gobs of Facts and Stats. Gobs of Facts and Stats.
I
I
love
think it's
God.
just slash stats after leadthroughstrengths.com.
This sounds like a Willy Wonka movie,
Yes,
Gobstoppers,
yes,
wasn't
yes.
it?
It's trying to make the data fun, you know?
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. So they're under all kinds of categories. I actually will walk through. Sometimes people are saying, I'm totally sold as the HR team, the people team, the talent development team. And I need some numbers that really map to what we have going on in our organization. And this would be a useful tool for anybody in the audience. It doesn't matter if they're using Clifton Strengths or not. If you
Right.
go out to that stats page, there are all kinds of things related to retention, to development, to leadership, to Clifton Strengths specifically, all kinds of people topics. And then you can grab the ones that make sense to the initiatives your business cares about in that moment.
Yeah, and then share that because you're going to need executive sponsorship for this, right? And then
Yeah.
go back and share that with C-suite and say, here's what it's going to do. Just start doing the math on a 14% decrease in retention and look at what is it, 10x or more that it costs to go replace someone and train the new person and all like that. Just do 10x and see
Yes.
what 14% reduction would look like. More than pays for itself financially, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which means time and everything else follows as well. So, Lisa Cummings, what am I going to find? What else am I going to find besides gobs and gobs on leadthroughstrengths.com?
You'll find gobs of stats and facts.
Gobs.
And
But wait, there's
well, that's right. So really rich content on Clifton Strengths. I mean, if that is a thing for you, and if you are one of those smaller companies that just
more.
doesn't have the funds right now to run it with an external third party, but you're an HR team or you're just a person who loves to facilitate,
Mm-hmm.
you could take my content and go wild for months. I mean,
Oh,
there's
wow.
so much out there. And there, my favorite page, it is actually in the top navigation called 34 Strengths. And you can see each of the 34 and it deep dives a solid hour's worth of each of those that you might study and be interested in, share with each other.
Uh-huh.
So that's a good one. You can find the podcast out there at the listen link. You can find some info on getting coached if you want to get coached on Clifton Strengths, do the one-on-one thing as well. A lot of teams do want to start with their leadership
Mm-hmm.
and do the one-on-one coaching and see if it vibes with their culture.
Sure.
And if they then love it and buy in, then it becomes the thing they want to cascade through the organization.
Hmm. So I can read through all 34 of those strengths and the descriptions of them there, and then I can go, well, I think I'm that one, or I think I'm that one. But what if I want to do the full Monty, all 200 questions? How do I go about doing that? Is that leadthroughstrengths.com as well?
No, so Gallup actually owns the Clifton Strengths
Okay.
instrument. So you can go right up out to Gallup's site and my.gallup.com and buy your assessment there. And then that is the great start. Go get your list of your top 5, top 10, full
Uh-huh.
34, depending on what version you buy. And then just go back and cross reference on my site. And you'll get obviously a lot from the report itself
Hmm.
that you purchase, but then I layer on the workplace angle. Gallup's answers in the report, they serve 3 audiences that are pretty distinctly different. They have workplace clients, they have faith-based clients, and they have university, a lot of students.
Oh,
So their descriptions of these talents are broad enough to cover these huge swaths of audiences. So sometimes people are like, okay, I get the general feel for this, but what does it mean at work?
yeah.
So that's when they come out to my site and just dig into the workplace angle.
Mhm. And so where do I go on leadthroughstrengths.com if I want more from you?
Yeah, go out to the Get Coached link if you want some one-on-one coaching. Right. And there's also a contact us form if you're like, I don't know what I want. Let's just talk through it and see what might be helpful for the organization given the things we're working on.
So I can come do some executive coaching with you around my strengths. And then when that works really well, which I know it will, then I can say, hey, Lisa, come work with this team and things like that. And then we can have you either virtually or live and in person, right?
Both. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. And also if LinkedIn is your thing, like I said, her URL to her profile is right there. Or you can try the easy peasy mac and cheesy way, and that is listen to some of the podcasts that you've got. And that's on Lead Through Strengths as well. So wherever you listen, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, just search for Lead Through Strengths podcast. And you can have all the Lisa Cummings you want. Is that right?
You can, because it's about 10 years of podcasting. So we've been through general people development topics. We've been through real deep dives on Clifton Strengths. Right now, we're doing a series for coaches, either for internal embedded in HR coaches, but also independent coaches who are trying to bring this to other organizations. And they're just kind of fumbling through all of the elements of how to do rollouts like this.
Gotcha. So you got some practical tips and strategies for coaches there, right? Well, we do have a lot of coaches that listen to this podcast, being ICF certified myself. So you guys go to leadthroughstrengths.com and discover how you can be like Lisa. Yay! We love that. All right. So Work Positive Nation always wants to know from my guest, Lisa Cummings, about their one thing. So Lisa Cummings, what's the one thing you would suggest that Work Positive Nation go out and start doing today to create the kind of positive work culture that we're talking about here?
Okay. I have something so simple and so repeatable. Okay. It's just this. Notice what works to get more of what works. If you start noticing and you actually say something to the person you've spotted strengths in, it doesn't require an assessment. It doesn't require a fancy training. It just requires you to have an orientation toward what is that person doing well and how many things can I catch somebody doing right today? And say it out loud, even if it's small, and watch what that does. It's easy for you to, when I say repeatable, I mean, it's easy for me to repeat because I'm just like, catch someone doing something right, catch someone doing something right. But also it's easy for them to repeat because they already know how to do it. It doesn't require training. It doesn't require you to coach them. They just need to know you thought that was good and they should do more of it. And it is incredible, the ripple effect that has on a team.
Lisa, I absolutely love that. It does require a flip of the mental switch for so many of us because we tend to look for what's wrong and call that performance review and instead of speaking about the bright lights that are going on in other people's lives and the things they do well. I love it, love it, love it. Lisa Cummings has been my guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Leadthroughstrengths.com is her website. So run over there right now. And if you're on the Peloton or walking the dog or something, you can't get there right now, it's in the show notes that come right back in a few minutes as soon as you get off. By the way, you can do it. You can do it. Lisa Cummings, thank you so much for being an amazing guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. I'm better for the conversation, and I know Work Positive Nation is too.
I am as well. And for those of you on the Peloton trying to run over and you're just not going anywhere, we appreciate your hard work running in place or pedaling in place.
But it's much more fun to be with Lucy and playing tug of war or out on a hiking trail, isn't it?
Ooh, you know things about my life.
I do. And look, next time you come up for one of these episodes, can you play the drums for us like a drum solo?
Ooh, yes. Yes. I play the drums. I sing. I try to play the drums in front of Lucy the dog, but she doesn't always like it. Sometimes it's too long, but
that's how you got into hiking. Lucy wanted to go hiking when you were playing.
That's her preference.
Right? Yeah. So how many, other than Don Henley of the Eagles, how many drummers are there out there who really sing? Okay, well, we got to save something for the next podcast episode with Lisa Cummings. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Please share this podcast with your friends who are HR and small business leaders so they can do one thing today to create a positive work culture that increases productivity and profits. I'd like to give you a free Work Positive course just for listening. It's called Something to Talk About. and it's transformed the work conversations of so many people all over the world. Get your free copy when you go to workpositive.today/something to talk about, and you can start transforming your conversations today. Remember, it pays to work positive.